We come to this place for magic. We come here to laugh, to cry, to care, because we need that, all of us, that indescribable feeling we get. Somehow, heartbreak feels good in a place like this, and stories feel perfect and powerful. Because here, they are.
Hi honeybees, my name is Raven, this is Jasper, and this is October, and welcome back to our channel. So today I want to talk about the best and worst movies of 2021. Obviously I didn't get to see every film released last year, but I saw about 53 new releases, and I think that's a pretty good amount. So we're going to talk about my top 10 and my bottom 5. Now, I don't really want this whole video to be me just rambling at the camera about all these different movies. I would like to have a different perspective for you guys. So, we're going to use October's amateur necromancy powers yet again to bring Jasper back to life just for the sake of conversation. Okay, are you ready? Let's go! Okay, so I have my notes here just so I remember everything I want to say. So starting with number 10, this one kind of came by surprise. It's Escape Room Tournament of Champions, which is weird because I didn't even really like the first Escape Room that much. It was kind of just like, it was okay, like it wasn't terrible, but it's not really something I looked twice at. So when we saw Escape Room Tournament of Champions, I was pleasantly surprised. It was very twisty. I felt like I was trying to get out of an escape room as I was watching it. Like I was trying to find all the hints that the characters weren't getting that kind of like foreshadowed the plot and stuff, and it was really fun. It was like I was playing along. I really didn't see where it was going. That's a problem I have with a lot of movies, is I can see where it's going. It's too predictable, and this one just, it wasn't like that. I really enjoyed it. I didn't know what was going to happen, and by the end of it, I was kind of blown away.
It was a pleasant surprise, especially after the first one, which we watched not too long before the second one. And it was pretty rough. Like, it felt like they didn't really have the idea fully fleshed out, and they didn't make it as fun as they could be, which is like really important for a movie like this. It should be fun. It should be, you should be into the puzzles, you should be hoopering and hollering for people to not get killed, and it was actually like the second one was pretty well made for what it was. Yeah,
good central characters too. The main girl actually wasn't in the first one, and she was in this one. I thought she really stole the show. Like, she was great. She was very young, but she was so smart, her character, and probably her in real life too. But she was like the best part. And then they did keep some characters from the first movie. One of them in particular, the guy, he was really good too. And I was really also pleasantly surprised that he was in the second one, because I thought he was pretty good in the first one. So it's really cool that it also, like, the story carried over, and it's like a series. It's like Saw for kids, kind of.
Yeah, PG-13 Saw. When they brought that guy back, it was like, oh, interesting. Like, they actually have some sort of continuity, and they like tease something for Escape Room 3. They're in that airplane, right? Crazy stuff's gonna happen in Escape Room 3.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. We'll definitely see it when it comes out. I really do appreciate the fact that it's not just like totally different movies with totally different people. There is a carried over storyline. So that one was good, and that one was my 10th movie of the year. Okay, number 9, another one that's gonna kind of come out of left field here is Dear Evan Hansen. I really enjoyed it. I know not a lot of people did, but let me explain. He has an amazing voice. I mean, you really just can't deny how good of a singer he is. I really liked him in Pitch Perfect, which is the first movie I've seen from him. And he, of course, played Evan Hansen in Dear Evan Hansen on Broadway. Now, I do have kind of a problem with that. When you put a Broadway film and you put it on film, you should recast the actors because it's a different medium. It works differently, because when he's on stage, you can't really tell. It's far away. You're only really hearing the voice and seeing the costumes. When you turn it into a movie, it's different rules. And that just didn't work for it. That being said, I still loved it. I thought the story was emotional. Ben Platt's a really good actor as well. Again, too old for this part. They should have picked someone else for the movie version. But I still liked him. The songs, loved them. I thought they were great. Not just Ben Platt either, everyone in the film. I thought they did a wonderful job. Overall, I really liked it.
You will be found
out the window. Okay, let's move on. Number 8, I have In the Heights, another musical. If it's not obvious by now, I love musicals. Most of the time, 9 out of 10 times a musical comes out, I'm gonna love it. And In the Heights is no exception. I've been a fan of Lin-Manuel Miranda for quite a while now. I went to college. I started college as a theater major right around the time that Hamilton was a big thing. So I couldn't escape it from the time I was a freshman until it came out on Disney Plus years later. Everyone was singing the songs, and when it came out on Disney Plus, Hamilton, I watched it, thought it was amazing, so I was really excited for In the Heights, and the more songs by Lin-Manuel Miranda, story by him, and it really lived up to my expectations, honestly. Great music, great dancing, and I love that it was a small town love letter. That's not something that we get a lot. Usually it's oh, big dreams, LA, New York, or I'm in a small town and I'm gonna get out of here, and it's a happy ending when they get out of here. And this was the opposite of that. This was about appreciating the small things, which I really liked, and again, I found it touching.
I can say it's okay, especially compared to Dear Evan Hansen, but wasn't for me. 0 for 2 with musicals so far.
Our top 10s are way different. If you were at his top 10, I haven't even seen all the movies in his top 10. Okay, number 7. This is a movie we can agree on. Licorice Pizza. Paul Thomas Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
Really good. It was good in multiple ways. Sometimes a movie is good just because the acting is really good, or sometimes a movie is good because of the writing or just the cinematography. This one, it all kind of combined into one really good film. Really like the cinematography. That's the first thing I wrote in my notes. It felt like it was the 70s, the way it was shot and the costumes.
Production design. Everything felt like the era it was supposed to be in, which, if you don't know, it takes place in the 70s. Strong central performances, definitely, by Alana Haim and Dustin Hoffman. Cooper Hoffman. Philip Seymour Hoffman's son.
Yes, and he looks just like him, and he definitely inherited his dad's talent. I thought he was great in this. This is, I believe, his first feature film. And I believe Alana's as well, as a main character. Anyway, it's her first main role. She's normally from the band Haim, and her sisters from Haim are also in the movie. Her family in the movie is her real family. I like that she's a non-traditional heroine as well, and a non-traditional romantic lead.
Mm-hmm.
There's one scene where she's at an agency with Cooper Hoffman's character, and the woman is telling her that, she's lovely, and she keeps saying, "You have a very Jewish nose," and she's just laughing at the anti-Semitism, because you kind of have to when you're in front of an agent. But she's right. She's not the traditional person we mainly put in media as a romantic lead, where it's just the regular traditionally attractive person. She's gorgeous, of course, but in a very unique way.
I think Paul Thomas Anderson is a master class filmmaker. He's made so many great movies, and you kind of understand when you watch a lot of his movies, his tics, his beliefs, and because he writes the movies too,
Mm-hmm.
And so I know exactly what he's doing when he portrays a thing like this. Just think, on technical terms, it's a fantastic movie.
Yeah,
sure.
It's also really funny.
It's
funny. It's comfy. It's a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving on to number 6. Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Now, let me start by saying I loved Venom 1. So I had very high expectations for the sequel, Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Venom 1, just real quick, I know you didn't like it that much, but I don't normally like superhero movies, and you'll hear me say that again and again when I talk about the superhero movies I do like, this being one of them. But the first Venom is something I also really liked about the second Venom, is that it was more of a character movie. It wasn't a plot, something's destroying the city and we gotta stop it and buildings tumble and blah, blah, blah. No, it's about this character's very literally inner struggle with this alien creature trying to turn him into a villain, essentially, and he's fighting for his own good half. Also, just Eddie's relationship to everybody around him and how Venom is affecting those relationships and affecting Eddie's life. It was mostly about that. And it kind of fell into this genre of film that I really love, this niche genre that I like to call breakup makeup films. And it's not overtly romantic between Eddie and Venom. It is implied for comedy, but also it's very believable that they do care about each other. And over the course of the film, they're fighting, and then they separate, and then they have to get back together for the sake of good, and they reach an understanding with each other. And that's a formula that I tend to enjoy with movies when it's a romantic movie, and this really fit into that for me, and I liked it.
An unconventional romance, you may say.
Yes. Very more so than the first Venom.
Yeah, for sure. They definitely leaned hard into the few things from the first Venom movie that felt successful or that people latched onto, which was the relationship that Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock has to Venom, right? That weird little dynamic they have, sort of weirdly romanticized, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They definitely, played that up.
They made it very domestic. He cooks some eggs in one scene.
I enjoyed it as well.
Number 5, surprise, surprise, another musical, Annette. Annette is very unique. It's very interesting. It's a musical. How would you even describe it? Adam Driver is a comedian, and he has a wife who is an opera singer. And they get together, they have a child who ends up being very talented, and Adam Driver tries to exploit that talent in that child and puts this baby on stage in front of millions of people. And it's kind of a commentary on the entertainment industry, pretty much overtly a commentary on the industry. I don't know why I said kind of. It really is. Songs flow very well in with the dialogue. Sometimes I find it clunky in musicals, and I actually had that problem a little bit with In the Heights, is that sometimes there's dialogue, and sometimes there's songs, but it's what are the rules for when it's a song and when it's dialogue? When do you speak and when do you sing? And I thought this film had a good flow of that. Something I really appreciate is unique stories. Something we haven't seen before, something that hasn't been made a million times in a million different ways. And this is definitely one of those films.
I don't think Lin-Manuel Miranda is going to have some drones carrying a baby to the Super Bowl.
But one thing about the baby is I really like the portrayal of the baby. It wasn't a real baby. It was a puppet. And I loved it. I thought that was such a unique idea. And added to the commentary, this baby's just a puppet. She's there for the entertainment of all, and her father, quite literally, is using her as a puppet for money. And then it isn't until the end that she is a little girl that we realize that she's a little girl. She's not a puppet. She's not here for entertainment. Okay, moving on to number 4, another musical, kind of technically has a lot of songs in it. Bo Burnham Inside. Normally non-traditional features like specials, comedy specials or TV specials that are released in 2021, I don't put on my ranked list. But this one is different. This is such an effort by one person, and it did kind of have a storyline, and it was just so good I couldn't not put it on the list, and it is at my number 4. It's amazing artistry. Burnham, I've always thought he was so talented. I've loved his comedy specials for years. I love his brand of comedy. Joke songs, I'm a big fan of if they're legitimate songs. Watching this and how he did 100% of it, writing the jokes, writing the music, performing, what he was able to do with lights and sets just inside his house was amazing. And it deserves the spot it has on this list. So the nitty gritty here. Top 3. Okay. The Night House is a horror movie starring Rebecca Hall, and let me just say her performance in it is phenomenal. It's a horror movie that is genuinely scary. There was times when I genuinely didn't know what was happening, and I really wanted to know, and I was sucked in. Very chilling. There was parts where I was literally on the edge of my seat, which doesn't happen very often, and great performances. So for that reason, it is number 3 on my list.
For sure. Good movie. Enjoyed it. All right.
Definitely.
Top 2.
Okay, number 2. This one was so fun. I've already seen it 7 times since the first time we saw it. And it's Barb Star Go to Vista Del Mar.
Now, it's funny. This is one of the few movies that we were at home, and it was a new comedy, and I was like, let's watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like something.
Hulu.
It seemed like something you may enjoy, and
great. Starring Kristen Wiig and Annie Morel. They're such a great team. I believe they also wrote Bridesmaids together. I know Kristen Wiig did, and I think Annie did as well, but she wasn't in the movie. But in this one, they are the two main characters. They're best friends. They're middle-aged. They live in like the Midwest. They go on vacation after losing their jobs and have this crazy adventure. Kristen Wiig also plays the villain of the film, who is so like quirky. Jamie Dornan is in this movie. Of course, most famously, he played Christian Grey in 50 Shades of Grey. But he's great in this movie. He actually has a musical number where I found out he actually did the singing for it. Blew me away because it was really good. Again, me with songs. The cinematography, the fun color palette, and it's hilarious. It's so funny.
All right, the big kahuna.
Okay, here
number
we go.
one.
Drum roll, please. My number one movie of the year was The Suicide Squad.
A superhero movie.
I know. So I was kind of like wary of seeing this movie because of Suicide Squad and all those other DC movies. Like I really couldn't care less about that stuff. They really like take their time getting to know each of these characters and their powers and their quirks and their personalities. And it's not just all about what they can do. It's also about them as people and their relationships with themselves, their relationships with each other, and with their families. Like Idris Elba and his daughter, there's an interesting dynamic there. Polka Dot Man and his mom we learn about, which is very funny and interesting. Ratcatcher 2 and her dad, Ratcatcher 1.
Mr. Taika Waititi.
Mr. Taika Waititi, legend. And also lots of like fun gore and kills and, and stupid stuff that was fun to watch. Genuinely like heartwarming at the end as well when they all come together to defeat the starfish.
In terms of enjoyability, it was definitely my number one.
And yeah, that is my top 10 movies that I enjoyed the most in 2021. Now we're gonna get to the fun part. My bottom 5 films of 2021, starting with 5 and then going to 1 being the worst. Okay, so number 5 is Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. And I have to say, like, I'm kind of tired of Ryan Reynolds' shtick. I feel like he's been playing the same character since the first Deadpool, which was good. I mean, I liked Deadpool, I guess, and Deadpool 2 was funny, but it's like he found that people liked it and then he kept playing that, and this is no exception. It was the same in the first. Yeah, I didn't actively hate it, but I didn't like it, and it was a nothing movie.
I didn't see it, but it seems like a filler movie. Just like
Definitely.
Filler, like who cares? Just like stuff happens with people that you like are in it. That's the only reason why you watch.
Banking
like
on the names for sure, and then there was no substance otherwise. Number 4 is a movie that really bummed me out that I didn't like it because I really wanted to like it, called The Little Things. I was excited for it because it's starring Rami Malek, who I love, and then it also has Denzel Washington. He's good. He's not like one of my favorite actors ever, but he is a good actor. And Jared Leto, who, not super into him, but I love Rami Malek. And Jared Leto is a good actor most of the time. So with that, I thought it was going to be good. It's a crime thriller, but this one, it was boring. It was boring and so disappointing. Jared Leto is trying.
As he always is.
As he always is. And Rami Malek is normally very good, but you could tell he wasn't given a lot to work with because like the story was flat.
It was a really bad ripoff of David Fincher's Seven. I'd had very low expectations, and it managed to go below that by a lot.
Yeah, so.
Yikes!
Yikes! Glad we didn't see that one in theaters. It was on
That
HBO
was
Max.
that was like early in the year.
It was.
Last year, and pretty much forgot about it. But yeah, it was a stinker.
It stayed pretty low the whole time.
It was bad.
All right, number 3 is The Cursed. We watched it at Sundance 2021. I kind of had hope for it when we watched it at Sundance because the first half had really good gore effects that genuinely made me like squeamish. It's a werewolf movie. When we see the werewolf at the end, it's just like the worst CGI I've ever seen, like for a modern movie. They tried to do like this like ancient tribal lore about it that just didn't make sense. I didn't know what was going on, and between those scenes of like the lore and the gore, it was just boring story that I couldn't care less about. Number 2 is Tragedy of Macbeth.
Oh.
I've seen so many adaptations of every different Shakespeare play out there. I've seen at least 4 or 5 versions of Macbeth already, and I don't really care for the story that much just because it's been done to death. And this just really hammered the done to death thing. There was nothing unique about it. It was just a straight up adaptation. Every actor that was in it, Denzel Washington, Frances McDormand, it was like they were trying to show off their acting chops.
Their prestigiousness.
Yes, they were being like, "Oh look, I'm Macbeth. I'm in a
Shakespearean
movie
actor
by Joel Cohen." You know, it's like they took the original script that Shakespeare wrote, same language, same everything, beat for beat, and just put it on screen. It's a movie. You can put more interesting stuff in it. It's not a play where you have only a little bit to work with in real time, but it felt like I was watching just somebody's production on stage. But worse than that. And it was boring. Personally, the worst thing for me a movie can be. Okay, number 1, my worst movie, my least enjoyed movie of 2021, Space Jam. A New Legacy.
A New Legacy? What?
It wasn't good at all. It was corporate trash. It was a money grab. It's like an AI made a script based off of the old Space Jam, and they added every Warner Brothers character just to like flex all the characters that they had. Like, yeah, I'm gonna believe that if Pennywise were a real thing, he would watch a basketball game between LeBron James and the Looney Tunes. Yeah, it was so believable. Not like the original Space Jam was any good, but it's like they were making it on the popularity of how not good that movie is, which is not a good idea. At least that one had heart. That one had some heart. And there's a joke in it, or not even a joke, just a line in it that's like played in my head a bunch of times that I just roll my eyes. There's one of the basketball players on like LeBron's team, or LeBron's friend who's a basketball player. I don't remember which NBA guy it is, but he turns into this like creature during the basketball game. This like all the basketball players turn into these like basketball monsters essentially, and his monster is called Wet Fire. And so sometimes he's water and sometimes he's fire. And LeBron's kid goes, "Oh, 'cause he's wet and he's fire." And I was like, who fucking tried to put this like Gen Z dialogue in here? Oh, he's wet and it just plays in my head, and I'm like, some 50-year-old man was like, we gotta be relatable to the kids. You can always tell when that happens, and this was definitely no exception to that.
You're gonna give thumbs down to Space Jam?
It's my least enjoyed movie of the year, just because of the corporate shilliness of it. Like that alone, pretty much. But I mean, the other things in the movie did not support it as being a good movie at all.
I think it was the best movie of 2021. I think it had some legitimate heart to it. I thought that the basketball scenes between LeBron and his...
So those were my top and bottom movies of 2021. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know what you thought in the comments. What were your favorites and least favorites? And I thank you all for watching. Bye! Thanks for watching, honeybees. Make sure to like and subscribe. Bye!